The blood trail stopped 3 miles from where he fell. That's when they stopped looking. They thought the injury was fatal. They thought the cold would finish what they started. They thought wrong. Because Gray didn't die in those mountains. He disappeared. And for 6 weeks, no one saw him. No howl, no tracks, nothing. But wolves don't vanish. They hunt. And when a predator that should be dead chooses silence over survival, something is coming. Something patient. Something that remembers every face that turned away. This is the story of Gray, the wolf they left to die. The wolf who came back different. They called him Gray because of the silver-blue coat that made him nearly invisible in winter fog. 9 years old, battle-scarred, the pack's protector. His alpha was his younger brother, Cain, charismatic, bold, loved by everyone. But when death came close, it was Gray who stood in the way. For 7 years, he'd held that line. 7 winters. 17 saves. He remembered everyone. The grizzly that wandered too close to the den. Gray took the hit, bought the pack 30 seconds to scatter. The blizzard. When a yearling named Luna got separated, Gray stayed with her for 3 days while the pack moved to safety. The flood that split them across a ravine. Gray found the crossing, led them home one by one through freezing water. 17 times they should have lost someone. 17 times Gray made the choice. The pack trusted him absolutely. When Gray said hunt, they hunted. When Gray said run, they ran. No questions. Cain trusted him most of all. They'd survived together since they were pups, shared kills, shared scars, brothers in blood and bond. But there was a younger wolf watching all of this. His name was Talon, 3 years old, powerful, fast, and hungry for more than food. He'd been watching Gray's position for months, not with respect, with ambition. Because in the wild, respect only lasts as long as you're last. Kill. And Talon was done waiting for Gray to step aside. It started during a pack meeting at dawn. They were tracking an elk herd through the eastern valley. Gray suggested a wide sweep. Slower, safer, proven. Talon spoke up. "That'll take all day. We hit them from the ridge. Fast, direct." The pack looked between them. Cain turned to Gray. "Your call." And Gray made a mistake. He saw the hunger in Talon's eyes, the need to prove himself. And Gray thought, maybe stepping back would help the young wolf learn. "We'll do it your way," Gray said quietly. Talon's eyes flashed with something Gray couldn't quite read. Pride or calculation. Cain nodded. "Talon's plan it is. Everyone, move out." As the pack mobilized, Gray felt something twist in his chest. A warning, but he ignored it. Some mistakes you don't see coming. Others, you choose not to. The hunt went wrong within minutes. The elk were bigger than expected, more aggressive. A massive bull broke from the herd and charged directly at the pack instead of running. Talon had positioned them in the open. No cover, no fallback. And the bull targeted the weakest members, 2 yearlings. One of them was Luna, Cain's daughter, the same wolf Gray had saved in the blizzard. She was directly in the elk's path. Gray didn't think. He just moved, launched himself between Luna and 1,200 pounds of rage and antlers. The impact was devastating. The elk's antlers caught him across the ribs and shoulder. The sound of bones breaking echoed across the valley like rifle shots. Gray hit the rocks, tumbled, kept moving on instinct alone. 7 seconds. That's all Luna needed to escape. When the dust cleared, the elk was gone. Luna was safe. And Gray was broken on the ground, blood spreading beneath him like a shadow, His shoulder ripped open, ribs caved in. He looked up through waves of agony, saw Cain running toward him, horror on his face, saw Luna crying, the high-pitched keening of a young wolf who understands she almost died, and he saw Talon standing back, watching, not shocked, almost satisfied. Cain dropped beside him. "Gray, Gray, stay with me!" Gray tried to stand. His legs collapsed. Every breath was drowning. Every heartbeat sent lightning through his chest. Cain looked at the pack, then back at Gray. And Gray saw his brother doing the math. Can he travel? Can he hunt? Will he survive the night? The answer was no to all three. "We can't leave him." Luna's voice, shaking. "Look at him." Talon's voice cut through, cold and sure. "He's finished. We stay. We all die. Winter's 2 weeks out. He saved my life, and now he can't save his own." Talon turned to Cain. "You're Alpha. Make the call." The entire pack went silent, waiting. Cain looked at his brother, his guardian, his friend, and Gray saw the exact moment Cain made the choice. "I'm sorry," Cain whispered. His voice broke. "I'm so sorry." He stood, howled the signal too. "Move!" Not everyone left immediately. Luna refused to move. Cain had to physically pull her away. She screamed Gray's name, but the pack was already leaving. Talon at the front, taking Gray's position like he'd been born for it. And Gray watched them disappear into the trees, watched his brother, his Alpha, abandon him. The last thing he saw was Luna looking back, tears streaming down her face, before Cain blocked her view and pushed her forward. Then, silence. Just Gray. The blood. The cold. He dragged himself into a shallow cave as the first snow began to fall. And in that darkness, shaking from shock and cold and betrayal, Gray made a promise. If he lived through this night, he would become something they couldn't ignore, something they would regret creating. But first, he had to survive. And right now, that seemed impossible. The first 72 hours were hell. Not just the pain, though the pain was constant, a living thing with claws. It was the isolation. Wolves aren't meant to be alone. They're wired for pack, for warmth and voices and the steady rhythm of other hearts beating nearby. Being alone it breaks something fundamental. Gray couldn't move, could barely breathe. His shoulder was destroyed, muscle torn, bone exposed. The ribs on his left side were shattered. He could feel them grinding with every shallow breath. He licked moisture from the cave walls, drank snowmelt, let his body decide if it wanted to fight or surrender. Day 3, a raven landed at the cave entrance, stared at him. Ravens follow wolves to feed on their kills, but they also follow the dying. Gray stared back, didn't blink. The raven tilted its head, waited. After a long moment, it flew away. Not yet, Gray thought, not yet. Day 4, the fever came, and with it, visions. He saw the pack circling him, Cain in the center. "We came back," Cain said. "We didn't leave you." Gray reached for him. His paw passed through, smoke. He saw Luna. "You saved me. I won't forget." But when he blinked, she vanished. He saw his mother, dead 8 years, killed by hunters when he was barely grown. She sat at the cave entrance, calm and steady. "You were always the survivor," she said softly. "I can't do this," Gray rasped. "You can. You just haven't decided to yet." "What if I don't want to?" Then Talon wins, and Cain spends the rest of his life knowing he killed his brother for nothing. She faded into mist, but her words stayed. By day 9, the fever broke. The wound had sealed, ugly, wrong, but closed. Scar tissue holding him together through sheer stubbornness. Day 12, he stood for the first time, His legs shook violently, but he stood. Day 14, he climbed to the ridge and looked down at his old territory, at the pack, and he started watching, learning, waiting. From the ridge, hidden in the rocks and snow, Gray watched the pack fall apart. Slow, quiet. The way a structure collapses when you remove the wrong support beam. Talon had taken his place, but Talon wasn't a guardian. He was a predator. And there's a difference. A guardian thinks 3 steps ahead, protects the weak, reads danger before it arrives. A predator just hunts. Gray watched Talon lead them on a 4-mile chase through deep snow. They came back exhausted, empty-handed. Watched him pick a fight with a bull moose in open ground, a battle they never should have started. The moose kicked one of the yearlings so hard the young wolf couldn't put weight on his leg for a week. Watched Talon push harder and harder, trying to prove he deserved the position he'd taken. But the pack was fracturing. Gray saw it in the way the older wolves hesitated now before following Talon's calls. Saw it in the way they conserved energy, no longer willing to risk everything on bad strategy. He saw Luna. She'd grown quiet, moved through the pack like a ghost, her eyes constantly scanning the distance, looking for Gray, even though she thought he was dead. And Cain. Cain looked haunted, the weight of leadership crushing him, the weight of what he'd done to his brother eating him alive. Gray watched all of it with cold, clinical focus, not anger, calculation, because he was learning something important. Revenge doesn't require violence. Sometimes it just requires patience. Let them destroy themselves. And watch. Scars change you. Not just physically. Deeper than that. Gray's shoulder healed wrong. Crooked. Limited movement. He couldn't lunge anymore. Couldn't grapple. His ribs didn't expand fully. His endurance was cut in half. He couldn't hunt the way he used to. So he learned new ways. Tracked wounded deer too weak to fight. Found carrion buried under snow. Caught fish in frozen pools where the current was slow. He learned to move differently. Deliberate. Efficient. No wasted motion. He wasn't faster anymore. But he was smarter. Wasn't stronger. But he was impossible to kill. And every day he survived was another day he proved them wrong. 6 weeks after they'd left him bleeding in the snow, Gray was leaner, harder, quiet in ways that felt dangerous. He'd stopped being the wolf they abandoned and become something else entirely. Something patient. Something waiting. And on the 43rd day, Gray walked down from the high country. Not to rejoin the pack. To deliver a message. I survived what you thought would kill me. Now let me show you what that means. They smelled him before they saw him. The pack was bedded down in their clearing. Talon in the center. Cain beside him, staring into nothing. Luna at the edge, like always, watching the darkness. Dusk. The hour when predators wake and prey animals freeze. Gray didn't approach. He just appeared at the tree line, silent as death. Luna saw him first. She went rigid, ears forward, eyes locked, and then she whispered it. Gray, not loud, but in the stillness of dusk, it carried like a gunshot. Every head snapped toward the trees. And there he was, leaner, the shoulder sitting wrong, visibly damaged, a monument to their betrayal. But his eyes were different. Cold, certain, unforgiving. Cain stood slowly, his mouth opened. No sound came out. What do you say to the brother you left to die? Talon stood too, hackles raised, a growl building. This was it, the challenge he'd been waiting for. He stepped forward, postured. You don't belong here anymore. Gray didn't move, just looked at him. And in that look, Talon felt something he'd never felt before. Fear. I said, I heard you. Gray's voice was quiet, calm. You're right. Talon blinked, confused. Then why are you here? To see if you were worth it. Silence. Luna stepped forward, voice breaking. Gray, we thought you were dead. You left me to die. His eyes moved to her, softened slightly. But you didn't want to. I know. His gaze shifted to Kane. You made a choice. The choice an alpha has to make. Kane's voice cracked. Gray, I'm sorry. I know. Gray cut him off. But sorry doesn't change anything. He looked at Talon again. You wanted my position. You have it. Keep it. Talon's confusion deepened. Then why come back? To remind you. Remind me of what? Gray's eyes went cold again. That I didn't die. And then he turned and walked away. Not running, not limping, just gone. Talon stood there, adrenaline flooding his system, completely lost. He'd prepared for a fight. But Gray hadn't come to fight. He'd come to haunt them. And as Gray disappeared into the darkness, the pack realized something. He didn't need to hurt them. His survival was punishment enough. Gray's return shattered the pack. Not immediately, but like ice cracking on a frozen lake. Slow, inevitable. The very next hunt, Luna froze. They were chasing an injured deer. Should have been simple. Talon called for her to flank left. She didn't move. Luna, now! No. The word hung in the air like a knife. What? I said no. She turned to face him. The last time I followed your strategy, Gray almost died saving me. I'm done. Talon's face twisted. He's not here anymore. Because of you. Luna's voice was shaking but firm. You set up that hunt. You knew it was dangerous, and you let him take the hit. That's not... wasn't it? The accusation hung there, and one by one, the pack started looking at Talon differently, wondering. Over the next week, the fractures spread. The older wolves stopped following Talon on risky hunts, just stopped. When he called, they stayed behind, not in open rebellion, just done. Kane tried to hold things together, mediated, encouraged, but every night he stood at the clearing's edge, staring into the darkness, looking for Gray. One night, Luna found him there. He's not coming back, she said quietly. I know, yeah. We destroyed something we can't fix. Kane's voice broke. I killed my brother. He's alive. I killed who he was, what we were. Kane looked at her, and I did it to keep you safe. I know. Luna's eyes filled, and I'll carry that forever. They stood in silence, and somewhere in the mountains, Gray heard the pack's howls. Fractured, desperate, broken. He didn't howl back, because they weren't falling apart because of him. They were falling apart because they'd chosen fear over loyalty. And fear eats everything from the inside. Gray never returned to the pack. He'd claimed the high country, brutal terrain, steep climbs, thin prey, the kind of territory most wolves won't touch. But Gray wasn't most wolves. He learned the mountains like a language, found thermal valleys where prey stayed active, tracked patterns no one else knew existed. He survived, not as a pack's guardian, but as something rarer, a wolf who chose solitude over betrayal. Spring came. The Yafa valleys opened. Rumors spread through the territory. A lone wolf in the high country. Silver blue coat. Crooked shoulder. Impossible to approach. They called him the Ghost. The wolf who should have died. Who'd been abandoned by his own blood and survived anyway. Other packs tried to recruit him. Strong groups. Good territory. He declined everyone, because Gray had learned something in that cave, bleeding and alone. The only pack you can truly trust is the one that can't leave you. And when you're alone, That's impossible. One evening, Gray stood on the ridge overlooking his old territory, saw the pack in the distance. Smaller, quieter. Talon had left weeks ago, gone to find another pack. Cain was leading now, Alpha and Guardian both. And Luna. Luna had grown into exactly what Gray used to be. Strong, watchful. The one they turned to when everything went wrong. Gray watched her lead a hunt with precision and care. And for the first time in months, he felt something other than cold resolve. Pride? Not for what he'd lost, but for what she'd become. He turned away from the valley, disappeared into the high country, where the air was thin and survival was a choice you made every single morning. And Gray chose it, not because it was easy, but because every sunrise was one they thought he'd never see. Every breath was one they thought he'd never take. And that was victory enough. Strength isn't always loud. It doesn't announce itself or demand recognition. Sometimes it's just the quiet decision to keep breathing when everyone expected you to stop. Gray didn't destroy his enemies. He outlasted them, became something they couldn't recognize, built a life they couldn't touch. And maybe that's the real lesson here. That survival, true survival, isn't about going back to who you were before the betrayal. It's about becoming someone the betrayal can't define. Some of you watching this are in your own cave right now, abandoned by people you trusted, healing from wounds no one else can see. You're wondering if surviving alone is enough. It is. Not because it's easy, but because every day you choose to keep going is a day you prove them wrong. Gray survived because he refused to let Cain or Talon or anyone else write his ending. He wrote it himself, in scars and silence and the stubborn refusal to die when it would have been easier. If this story hit you, if Gray's journey meant something, hit that like button. Subscribe to the Wildlife Files for more stories where the wilderness teaches us what it means to be unbreakable. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been abandoned by someone you trusted? How did you survive it? Because we're all trying to survive our own mountains. Some of us do it alone. And that's not weakness. That's proof you never needed them in the first place. Thanks for watching. Stay wild.